All right, welcome. So today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to climb a skyscraper, but not one made of steel and glass. Nope, this one is built entirely out of consciousness. It's this incredible map for really understanding your own inner world and, unlocking your potential. So let's start the climb.
Let me just start by asking you a question. What if you could actually map your inner world? I mean, seriously, imagine putting a number on your emotions, your perspective, even your potential, all on this clear, measurable scale that shows you exactly where you are and, maybe more importantly, where you're headed.
For so many of us, that inner world can feel like a total maze, right? Just confusion and fear. And this quote here from Anita A., it just captures that feeling of being lost in the dark so perfectly. The real game changer for her and for so many others is when you stop just guessing and you start actually measuring. It turns what feels like a terrifying ordeal into a clear path forward.
Okay, so how do we get that kind of clarity? Well, the blueprint for our skyscraper is something called the energetic scale of consciousness. It's basically a map that makes the invisible visible, and it makes that whole journey of personal growth feel, well, real and tangible.
So what is this thing? The ESC is this really revolutionary system that gives us a way to measure our own transformation. The whole idea is that our energetic frequency literally shapes our reality. And it measures this frequency in joules. Yeah, that's a unit of energy you might remember from physics class. The higher your state of consciousness, the more energy you're literally putting out.
The scale runs from 0 all the way up to 1,000 joules. Down at the bottom, you've got these really low energy states like despair and shame. And way up at the top, the highest states of enlightenment and peace. This gives us a really concrete way to wrap our heads around the whole spectrum of human experience.
So let's get real for a second. Where are you operating from? Are you down in the basement? That place of survival, fear, constant struggle? Or are you heading up towards the penthouse, that state of pure potential, love, and just effortless flow? This right here is the core metaphor for our entire climb.
All right, we've got the blueprint. Now it's time to actually begin our ascent. Let's explore the different levels of this incredible skyscraper, starting right from the ground floor and working our way up.
So this skyscraper, it's divided into 5 major zones. We start down in the frozen zone of pure survival. Then we move up into the melting zone, where we start to react to the world around us. In the liquid zone, we're awakening to new possibilities. And then way up in steam and plasma, we start hitting these states of deep integration and even transcendence.
Let's start right at the bottom. In the basement, this is the frozen zone, everything below 200 joules. When you're here, the world just feels dangerous and hostile. Your mind is dominated by emotions like fear, shame, anxiety, and the one single driving question is just, will I survive? In this state, we actually tend to drain energy from the world and people around us.
Now, here's something really important. Moving up from that frozen zone, it isn't always a slow, steady climb. There are these key floors, critical thresholds, where everything just changes in an instant. Think of them like quantum leaps in your consciousness.
And the first huge one happens at 200 joules. This is the line between what's called force and true power. Below 200, life feels like you're constantly pushing a giant boulder uphill. It's just a struggle, and it's all rooted in fear. But the moment you cross that line, you step into what's called true power. You're not fighting the world anymore, you're flowing with it, creating from a place of love.
This shift is just so profound. You see, below 200 joules, our subconscious is constantly asking, will I survive? But once you're above it, survival isn't the main concern anymore, so the question evolves. It becomes, am I good enough? We've literally moved from instinct to self-awareness.
Okay, the next quantum leap is at 500 joules, and honestly, this one changes everything. Your entire worldview can flip from being governed by fear to being seen through the eyes of love. Life stops being this series of problems you have to solve, and it becomes this beautiful mystery that you get to experience.
So, where does most of humanity actually hang out on this skyscraper? Well, research suggests the global average is hovering right around 210 joules, just barely over that first critical line. Most of us are operating in that reactive melting zone, and the people who reach 600 joules and beyond, that's a tiny fraction, less than 0.5%. That really makes the conscious choice to climb that much more significant, doesn't it?
Okay, so we've got the map, we know where the big level up floors are, but how do we actually climb? Let's talk about the tools for the ascent.
The how? Well, that comes down to what are called the 10 pathways. Just think of them as specific game plans for transforming our biggest fears into our greatest strengths. It's about turning what the system calls ego insurgence into our true, authentic, sacred self.
Let's just take the victim pattern, for instance. When we feel like a victim, it's like life is just something that happens to us, right? Well, the pathway to transform that is by cultivating resilience. This means you start to see challenges not as personal attacks, but as opportunities for growth. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me, you start asking, what can I learn from this? That one little shift in perspective, wow, it is a powerful step up the skyscraper.
And just like that, after our lightning-fast climb, here we are. We've made it to the penthouse. So what's the view like from the top? What's the big takeaway from all this? Okay, this is maybe the most important thing to get. This scale is not a report card. It is not about judging yourself or anyone else. It's a dynamic map. Think of it like a GPS for your inner journey, a tool for your awareness, your compassion, and your own conscious evolution. And if there's just one idea you take away from our climb today, please let it be this. The only way out of the basement is up. The only way up is to go through whatever life brings you, and the only way through is with love. Because at the end of the day, this whole thing, it puts the controls right back in your hands. Every single thought, every choice, every emotion is a decision about which floor you want to live on. The map is yours now, so the only question left is, where will you choose to go next?